One final race remains as we get set to duke it out for 200 miles and 100 laps around this absolutely beautiful 2-mile facility over here in Fontana, California. And it's going to be a grudge match between two drivers to see who takes the ASRL NextGen Cup Series Championship. Good afternoon, one and all, and welcome to the Green Flag TV. My name is Noah Rambo, bringing you all of the action from start to finish from the season finale of the ASRL NextGen Cup Series. Alongside me tonight is going to be Josh Baird. We are bringing you all of racing action here this afternoon from this 2-mile facility. Josh, oh boy, there is a lot of drama entering racing action here this afternoon, and it is going to be a wild, wild show to see who walks away with the run at season's end.
Yeah, exactly, and I think we picked Auto Club Speedway for the perfect reason that I think it's going to be an action-packed night tonight. We're going to have a lot of guys fighting for the finals, or the final win of the season, and Joshua Hige and Matt Schlosser are really going to have a fight on their hands tonight to try and make it to the top spot at the championship.
You talk about only Joshua Hige and Matt Schlosser being in. Now, technically, Hunter Engrave, he enters this race 3 points behind Joshua Hige. He's not going to be able to do anything with that, though. Unfortunately, Hunter Engrave having to deal with an injury at home. He is being forced to sit out this race. So the driver that has absolutely wiped the floor with the field all season long, down and out for the season finale. At the most critical point, the Game 7, he finds himself out of the fight, and that has got to be something that is going to sting. You can best bet, though, he'll be back next season and with a vengeance.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks for Hunter Engrave have just been bad news to worse news, considering that last week was a very controversial move by Jan van Leer that cost him that race, and then again tonight he was had to be seated without even being able the chance to fight for his position to take that championship over from Joshua Hige. And looking at his record so far this season, he has, out of his 15 starts, 11 top 5s. And 5 of those are wins, so 33% win percentage for him so far this season just goes to show how dominant his season was. So to have him not even be able to show up to a race tonight is huge, unfortunate event for him.
You talk about Jan van Leer not being able to fight for a title either. He was within 40 points to the points leaders entering the race just 1 week ago, but it ended up being a pretty wild night. Jan van Leer ended up taking out Hunter Engrave. That was determined and admitted to be completely intentional. And that's a big no-no in ASRL. So they decided to strip him of all of his points as per the rule book. And that is why Van Leer sees himself out of the points fight. And he is not going to be able to contend for a points finish here this afternoon. He is going to be all the way down in 9th, and that is where he will stay. He is also not going to be racing this afternoon. In fact, he'll be bumped all the way down to 10th with Tommy Cook making an appearance here this afternoon. That leaves it, as you mentioned, a 2-horse race between Matt Schlosser and Joshua Hige, separated by 8 entering the championship finale. Considering you can get up to 10 points for 1st through 3rd, it's not a big gap at all.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy night for both these guys. I don't know. We'll probably see in the beginning they have level heads to try and get themselves to the end of the race, of course. But I really think their elbows are going to be coming out, and they're going to be duking it across the finish line to try and get those last bit of points and win the championship. But then again, you also have these other guys that are out here tonight. They may not be in it for the championship, but of course a race win is a race win for them. So we'll see a lot of these guys out here also trying to get that last win of the season, maybe give them some momentum going into next season.
Let's touch briefly on Auto Club Speedway and all of the difficulties entering a race like this here this afternoon. Of course, 2 miles, but not a lot of banking throughout those corners. It makes this track thrilling for multi-groove racing. But take a look at that track temp, 126. It is blistering temps out there right now in Fontana, and that is going to make for this to be an extremely intense race.
Yeah, 127 degree track temp is quite high, and it's going to make for these cars to be a little more difficult to handle than they're probably used to. But the cool thing is about this track is the banking and the width of the track allows for multi-groove racing, and I think we're going to see that tonight.
With all that said and done, we are ready to take a rundown of how everything is going to pan on now for the final race this afternoon. 200 miles, 100 laps, about to get underway. Here's what your field looks like entering racing action this afternoon. Max Schlosser starts on the pole for Interstellar SRV. Andy Poliski for Broke Guy Racing, only 4th thou off the mark in that number 2 spot. Rene Garcia for 420 Motorsports is in 3rd. Joshua Higgy, your points leader, only by 8. Enters this race out of Indiana in 4th. Josh Rutherford for Work in Progress Racing is in 5th. Paul Ellison rounds out the top half of the field for the Alabama gang in 6th.
7th is Luke Peterson with Casey Campbell sitting in 8th, 3/10 off the leader. Corey Rutherford in 9th. Kyle Zittel sitting in 10th with Tommy Cook in 11th position tonight.
So right now, Joshua Higgy very much in the catbird seat this afternoon, along with Max Schlosser. This is going to be intense between these two drivers. Schlosser, the way it stands right now, would be your points champion. He has got himself 3 spots up on Joshua Higgy. That is a total 20-point difference. It goes down by 5 every spot from 1st to 2nd to 3rd to 4th, and only then, do we see a less than 5-point difference with only 2 points between 4th and 5th, another 3 back to 6th, and that is 1 point per spot all the way down. But right now, you could be seeing Max Schlosser with that championship by only 12.
It's crazy to think how close this is going to be throughout the race, and hopefully we can keep our calculators running to be able to give a live point standings throughout the race. But you can obviously tell that these two guys have put a ton of practice in this week to try and prepare for this race as they sit 1st and 2nd right now.
So the field working its way out of pit road and up onto the racetrack. Andy Poliski going to be starting up on that outside line. He is one of those other drivers going for some last-minute glory here on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. Max Schlosser will be starting down to his inside, and it is going to be, I think, one of the most intense championship battles we have seen in a good while on Free Flight TV.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be an awesome race to watch tonight with Schlosser sitting right there in front, and then you have Poliski, who's always been a contender towards the front throughout the race. You just got a handful of guys that are very talented here tonight, and it's going to put on for a great show.
It's a 2-horse race, entering racing action here this afternoon, and we'll get set to see how everything's going to pan on now. The field will work its way through turn numbers 3 and 4 for the final time before we get set to go green flag racing for some stellar racing action this afternoon. The pace car going to pull down into pit road. As always, we're happy that you're joining us on a Sunday night. There's the sharp left-hand turn. Max Schlosser will enter the restart zone. 11 cars rumbling to life. It is time to go, go, go! One final time in ASRL. Andy Poliski trying to make an early charge with the race lead down low as they work off of turn numbers 3 and 4. Schlosser holds the top, and Poliski leads the first lap to green down on the low side. Schlosser pulls it back around the top shelf just at the stripe to take away that lap. We're 1 down, 99 to go.
Yeah, Schlosser got a really good run going down that front stretch there that gave him the ability to jump up and catch that lead. And, you know, another one of the things that he's going to need to help himself win this championship is leading the most laps and leading laps in order to get those bonus points that come along with it. So we'll have to see if he can use that opportunity where he is out front right here to try and gain some of those bonus points to get himself that much more of a gap on Joshua Higgy. But here he comes, coming down the front stretch side by side once again with Poliski.
Joshua Higgy pulling the outside as well. He picks up third. That now puts Higgy 5 points closer to retaking that points lead. The way it stands right now, If Schlosser's up in first, Higi has to finish at least in second. He cannot afford for Schlosser to win this race. Schlosser effectively is in a must-win scenario as it stands with Higi at third. But if Higi finishes second and up, this championship is all Schlosser's to lose. So Josh Higi going to carry that one down in the turn numbers 3 and 4. I expect for him to try to make quick work of Poliski to secure that title run.
He's definitely going to have to if he wants to try and get some of those bonus points as well. So getting around Poliski, but Poliski seems pretty quick so far today. We'll have to see if Higi's got what it takes to be able to get around him as he takes a peek to the outside going into turn number 1.
Poliski going down low, trying to take that race lead away from Matt Schlosser. Schlosser still hanging on all the way around the top shelf of the racetrack, picks off the spot. Poliski can do nothing but watch as he's going to lose ground, and he might be forced to tuck in line here for that second spot, but still holding the inside and trying to drive something in deep into turn 3 to make a move. I don't think it's happening though right now. Schlosser's proven to be a tough nut to crack on the top side.
Schlosser holding his own. He's definitely more comfortable up there on that high side, and we'll have to see how the tire wear works out as well with these guys, if that lower line is going to be more wear on the tires or what they're going to have to do come later on in the race, because with this track temperature, it's really going to do a lot of damage to those tires, so they really have to think about tire management. As it looks like, oh, Higi just looked like he was getting ready to make a move to the outside there to take it 3 wide. Files back in though, and now Higi is sitting in second position on the outside of Poliski. So Higi right back where he needs to be in order to help himself win the championship tonight.
Critically, that puts Higi into the points lead, but only by 3. It is absolutely razor thin right now, the points margins that we're dealing with as this field runs down the front straightaway and back around to turn numbers 3 and 4. So this is right now where Higi is set at. If Higi finishes second or higher, he wins the championship. That is guaranteed. No way. I don't think Schlosser can get around him unless there is some absolutely major upsets. For example, like both drivers or one of these drivers getting any kind of incident point. Remember, if you get a 0x and finish on the lead lap, that's 3 bonus points. However, if you find yourself getting even a single incident point, whether it be a one, it could be even as much as an off-track 1x from clipping that infield grass down there, you lose those 3 bonus points, and that would put them in a dead tie. I believe the tiebreaker would put it still to Higi.
It's going to be really close to see. We'll have to see. They're going to have a flawless race because both of them want it so bad. So we'll have to see which guy wants it worse and be able to keep it clean, because at the end of the day, if you wreck too, that's going to cost you as well. So they're going to have to keep it clean, but it looks like Higi's looking now down to the inside of Schlosser. He looks like he wants those bonus points for leading laps, but not enough for him to take the inside of Schlosser, so Schlosser's going to pull back out to the front, take the lead once again coming out of fourth.
Remember, critically right now, Matt Schlosser has got himself with 1 bonus point already. That puts him within 2 currently of Joshua Higi. That bonus point was for starting this race on pole. So the points difference right now stands only 2 apart between them as it stands on the racetrack. Right now, one of them can still get a bonus point for setting the fastest lap of this race. Now that said, the fastest lap of this race is set currently by neither of them. And in fact, it's currently held right now by Kyle Zittel with a 41.29. Zittel going 3 wide around the top, trying to gun it for the lead.
Zittel looking to upset the apple cart, and he is going to probably take the lead coming down the front stretch here. Yes, he does. So he'll get a go-ahead point for leading a lap there, and now he takes off with the lead. So fast car for Zittel tonight is going to be a problem for these 2 guys looking to fight for that top spot on that podium to win the championship.
Zittel makes up the spot. Schlosser and Higi still side by side, and the old mother machine still hanging on. Schlosser has another bonus point for leading a single lap of this race, but he does not have a lap for leading the most so far. There's still a lot of time for that to be unsettled, and right now Zittel is ticking away laps, and every lap that Zittel ticks away is 1 less lap that Schlosser can lead up to the head of this field. Now that said, Joshua Higi has lost a couple spots. He's down to 5th, and that swings the points lead back in the favor of that 400 car.
Seems to be Higi might be struggling with those tires after trying to make that run for the lead So he's dropping back a little bit. Now Zittle's in the lead. Poliski's got his spot back, and he's sitting in third now. It looks like Poliski's even looking to take that second position away from Slosher. So we'll have to see if he can get that pass made. And then you have Peterson right behind looking to stick it in as well.
There you see the points entering race in action tonight, only separated by 8, and it is going to be extremely intense as these drivers try to duke it out amongst themselves. Poliski trying to make that look for second, can't quite get there. Kyle Zittel hangs on at the head of this field by now about 0.3 of a second. Here comes Poliski trying to look down the inside.
Poliski looking down to the inside. He seems to be comfortable on that low side tonight, and it's allowed him to get in the position to undercut his opponents as they've had to take the high side most of the night. And here he comes looking down to the inside once again, going through 3. Not going to have enough speed to catch him throughout this turn, but maybe within another lap or so he can get there on the inside. But another thing for Joshua Higgy that allows him to relax a little bit, he had a lot of pressure to get up there and not let Slosher get those most laps led, but now that Zittle's kind of taken off away with that, it's giving him giving Higgy a little more opportunity to sit back and not have to worry about fighting for those points.
So Zittel started to pull away here at the head of this field. Schlosser second, Poliski third, Peterson fourth. There's a pretty big battle pack. This is running from first back to 7th, all tucked up with the race lead. Then they got another one, Casey Campbell, Paul Ellison, and Joshua Rutherford. Now this is deeper in the field. This is for 8th through 10th. These guys are kind of just running in no man's land, trying to make up some ground of their own. And they're way in the back. Corey Rutherford has lost touch with the race leaders. All of the big championship battling right now, it's taking place up here within the top 5.
These guys are doing a good job at keeping it nice and tight here. Oh, it looked like Poliski got a little sideways and down on that lower end of the track. I think with the track being as hot as it is, they're gonna struggle with loose conditions today. So it looks like Poliski is gonna be the first one to get a little wiggle coming out of that turn number 2 there, and seemed to recover it well because he's sitting right back where he needs to be.
With Andrew Poliski as he tries to hightail it after the interstellar SRV machine up the road. This is going to be something we're going to be touching on all throughout the course of the night, but you can see how much this field has started to spread apart. I think tires are really starting to play into a factor as to how effective these drivers are in battling for positions. Luke Peterson looking for the inside of Rene Garcia.
Peterson looking to the inside, didn't quite get that though, so he'll have to file back in line for now. Rene Garcia having a really good race so far, seems to be pretty quick, but now he's about a second back and he'll need to close that gap a little bit if he wants to fight. But Rene Garcia has been one of those guys known so far this season to try and get there and go for the win, even though he doesn't have a chance to win the championship. I think he's still trying to fight to get a win under his belt. So I think he's going to go ahead and try and get to the front as well.
Garcia is still very much a driver that could throw some wrenches into the works. You can see drivers fanning out all around, and now I thought Schlosser might have been about to lose another spot, but Joshua Higgy right now is in trouble. He is hemorrhaging spots. He is all the way down to 6th, and that is no bueno. As right now, Schlosser into the points lead by a pretty healthy margin.
It really seems like Higgy burnt up his tires trying to keep up with Slosher towards the beginning of that race, and now he's just trying to fight to stay alive. It's a good chance in the beginning of the race to get that opportunity to learn how the car is going to handle in this hot weather, but at the same time, I think you're going to have to execute a perfect race if you're going to have a competitor that's sitting up towards the front. So Higgy's really going to have to buckle down here and try and make up some of those positions, or else he's going to be finding himself losing that points lead here at the end of the race.
This is the current championship standings as it stands. Now, this is factoring in the current bonus points that have been given up or that are still up for grabs. Right now, Joshua Higgy sitting down by about 9 points on Max Schlosser. Now, this is because, of course, he only is scoring 55 points at the moment. Now that is added on to the 3. He has scored 58 points total right now as it runs, whereas Max Schlosser up the road, he is scoring a good bit more. He is currently scoring 75. So this is right now a score for Max Schlosser. He is way up the road. And the fact Max Schlosser tried to see if he could go for a lead, that would put him up by another 5 points, bringing him up to 2,242. Now we break that down into the bonuses that these drivers have gained throughout the course of racing action thus far. And this is how things look out. And you can see just how many more bonuses Max Schlosser's got over Joshua Higgy.
Yeah, and Slosher looking to the inside of Zittel here. He didn't get that pass made, but it looks like he might be starting to pick up some of that speed once again. Maybe he was settling back a little bit to get his tires under him, save his tires for later on in the stint. Or maybe Zittel's getting to a point where he's starting to see some degradation on his tires, as he had a fastest lap of 41.2, but now he's turning down 42.3 as far as this last lap.
As it stands, Schlosser would not get bonus points either for leading the most laps. Kyle Zittel just overtook the number of laps that he's led by 1. So Kyle Zittel taking away laps, and that's taking away another bonus point that Schlosser has on offer. We're almost a fifth of the way through this race, still running caution-free. I got to be honest, I would be very, very surprised if we got any kind of yellow flag in this race. Just based as to how this race has gone so far, the fact that we've got so few cars on the racetrack. Casey Campbell and Joshua Rutherford were in a battle for 9th, and there goes Rene Garcia getting around Andy Poliski for 3rd.
I think we're going to be in for a lot of green flag running here. Not a ton of space on the track being taken up, which gives these guys the opportunity to run their lines and race the track, essentially. So I think we're going to see, a lot of green flag running here, and definitely some green flag pit stops.
This is Casey Campbell. At least that was Casey Campbell trying to make his run against Joshua Rutherford. And looking like that actually may have been just Joshua Rutherford blinking out of existence. I thought there was going to be an overtake. Looking like no. Joshua Higgy, though, is on the move. He's up to 5th. And now he is trying to pull alongside Luke Peterson for 4th.
Joshua Higgy and Luke Peterson going for it. Joshua having to go to the inside this time. We'll have to see if he has the ability to race that lower line and be able to overtake Peterson as we go through turns 1 and 2. It looks like he got a lot of speed, and Peterson had to check up a little bit. So Peterson is falling back. Poliski right behind him, getting ready to take over that position as well. But Higgy riding off into the sunset from Peterson. So a little mistake from Peterson there. Joshua Higgy able to take advantage, and he is now back up into 4th place.
And that puts him now just 4 points behind Max Schlosser. Right now, the one thing that is really keeping Schlosser up front is the fact that he has not gotten an incident point so far. One small mistake when tagging the outside wall could still enter that hope. Currently, he just needs to make up one more spot. If he can get around Rene Garcia in 3rd, that puts him back into the points lead, I believe, by only 1.
I think Joshua Higgy has what it takes. It seems he's found some speed here in the last couple of laps, and all he's got to do is chase down Garcia. But we're only 22 laps into a 100-lap race. There's no reason to burn up your tires to try and get that points lead right at this moment. So if I were him, I would just, tick out laps as fast as I possibly can, but don't try and push too hard, because you're going to have to end up paying for that a little later on in the race. And it looks like he's closed the gap a little bit more on Garcia as they enter in turn number 1.
This is a really compelling points battle that started to develop between these two drivers, and it is quite literally fluctuating every 5 laps or so with how many spots these guys are making up. That's kind of the benefit of the point structure right now that ASRL has got for itself. It does make it a genuinely compelling points fight. Further behind, Joshua Rutherford getting around Paul Ellison. I want to point out as well, right now, Rutherford, Ellison, and Campbell, they used to be about a 2.5 off of the top runners. They've actually picked up the pace, though, and now they stand just 0.4 of a second off of Luke Peterson.
They're doing a pretty good job keeping up with the pack here, and so great job by them. I think that'll give them an opportunity come green flag stops to maybe even gain a couple more positions. So being able to close that gap is a great opportunity to help yourself later on in the race if a caution comes out, or you get a friendly green flag stop that allows you to pass some of your opponents in front of you.
Good grief. I mean, Kyle Zittel ripping the outside line. It's a risky move to go that close to the wall, but you saw how much that paid off. Was able to gap the field behind by another 0.2 of a second. And looking like he might be coming to pit road. He is. Your race leader is in for the first time tonight, and he is going to take Tommy Cook and Luke Peterson all coming down with him.
Here we go. We get our first set of green flag stops at lap 25 here, so that opens up the fuel window for these guys to have 3 different stops throughout the night. And we'll have to see whose strategy is going to be the one to play out for tonight. But so far, these guys think that they have the winning strategy by coming down on lap 25.
Oh, and Tommy Cook going to overshoot the box. Forced to back up. That's going to cost him a couple of very precious 0.1 of a second. Top right of your screen, there you see the track map. Matt Schlosser in gray, Kyle Zittel in green. Schlosser just came down and into pit road. He's taking in Garcia and more, and a couple of drivers coming in hot. Higgy, Poliski, and Rutherford all down to the pits. And that just leaves Corey Rutherford out of the racetrack. He will look to pick up the lead and lead a single lap of this race. I don't think he got there, though, before the start-finish line. So with all of that said and done, Corey Rutherford, the last driver to pit. Kyle Zittel back on the racetrack in 2.
Kyle Zittel on the lap 25 strategy, we'll call it. And then, so he'll be the leader of this strategy for this group of guys. And we'll have to see if that pays off for him, because he'll start ticking down some pretty quick laps here after having a fresh set of tires put on. We'll have to see just about here. I think we're going to get ready to see Schlosser get ready to come out of his pit stop. He does, and we'll have to see if he can get in front of him coming down the backstretch here. Oh, as Rene Garcia got a really good stop, and that allowed him to overtake Schlosser for the net race lead on that strategy.
And how about that? Rene Garcia out in front. That was a beautiful overtake that Garcia made. Schlosser down to second. Zittel will pick up the 4th place position. Looking like, for the most part, everybody taking fuel only on this run of pit stops. Corey Rutherford now down and into pit road himself. I want to get a look on board with Rene Garcia coming out of pit road. That was a beautiful overtake that he made on the exit of the pits. And that was facilitated by pit stops. He was 0.4 of a second quicker in the box as opposed to Schlosser.
Whoa, close one.
You see how much Garcia's fishtailing, trying to stamp on the gas to beat him out, and Schlosser had to lift because he wasn't on the tiny bit of banking that Garcia had access to.
Yeah, and that's another interesting thing about green flag stops, is that apron is also a racetrack on green flag stops, because there's no reason why that you would have to stay behind the opponent on the apron there. So for Schlosser, that was an unfortunate situation that allowed him to have to slow up quite a bit. And now he's got a decent sized gap between him and Garcia. So just goes to show the importance of practicing green flag pit stops, and Rene Garcia executed that perfectly.
Unfortunately, one driver that did not was Joshua Higgy. He is now down by 12 in the championship standings after the run of pit stops. He was in the box for 9.5 seconds. But overall, compared to Matt Schlosser, he wasn't in the pits for too much longer. I mean, 46.5 and 46.6. The difference was the fact of when they came down a pit road on. Man, that is a tough break for the both of them. Joshua Higgy way down in 9th, and that is not nearly enough to take a title.
Yeah, and that puts him about 4 seconds back from the leader. So once again, not a great idea, or an ideal situation for Higgy, rather. Hopefully he can use the next, 70 laps to be able to try and recover this. But at the end of the day, he's out there racing Schlosser. So as long as he can catch him, or Schlosser has some sort of mistake that brings him back to Higgy, I think he'll be fine. But maybe it was something where Higgy was really just trying to be conservative going through that pit cycle, because to lose a championship by having a wreck, or not entering pit lane well enough would be devastating, as it looked like Schlosser got into the wall coming out of turn number 4.
That could be big. That could have cost him a 1X, his 0X. Taking a look on board here with Matt Schlosser. This is on the drive out of turn number 4 as he took away that second spot. Let's watch for that hit. Drifts up. Oh yeah, I think that would have done it. Could that have cost him a 0x bonus now?
Yeah, that might have looked like even a 2x contact with the wall there. And I think he's just lucky that he didn't do steering damage or, aero damage that would cost him some more time out on the track. Hopefully, the worst case scenario is it costed him the 0x bonus, because right now he's still sitting pretty heavily in front of, Higi. So, but Higi's starting to catch up. So we'll have to see if Higi's got something in there. Does it look like Zittel got into the wall a little bit through that turn?
And Matt Schlosser going to be able to take that spot right back. He shoots at the number 2 spot down to the inside as they work the back straightaway. If he did lose that 3-point bonus for the 0x on the lead lap, that would still put him 8 points ahead of Joshua Higi. So it would not be a race killer, but it's still enough that he's got to be a little bit worried after that.
Yeah, definitely. You can't be making mistakes like that. Like I said in the beginning of this broadcast, both these guys are going to have perfect execution in the races, because they're both very hungry to win this championship. So making mistakes like running into the wall or having a slow green flag pit stop cycle is going to be detrimental to your race and could cost you the championship. So they need to have quite a bit of it looks like Rutherford got a little bit loose and sent down to the inside.
Weight crossed up for Joshua Rutherford coming out of turn numbers 1 and 2 down the back straightaway. So you see once again your unofficial championship standings right hand side of your screen. Now again, these are not official standings. We are going to be getting word on what the official standings are post-race. This is just based off of our on-the-fly math calculations, which I'm doing on an iPhone. So it's take it with a grain of salt, essentially. Zittel back to the outside wall. That'll give the spot back to Poliski.
Zittel having a rough time riding that high line. It seems like it's getting a little tight for him, and then he's getting sucked into that wall. So I don't know if he needs to get back down and find himself a better lane, maybe that second or third line up from where he's sitting at on the track. But that high line doesn't seem to be working out very well for him.
So lap 34, getting set to kick off this time by, and Schlosser still under some pretty heavy fire. Kyle Zittel not giving up this bid on trying to go for that third place finish here. These guys are having a tear at it, thundering down the back straightaway with not a lot of time in between them. The Interstellar SRV number 400 machine still running out there in the race lead. Kyle Zittel sits behind in fourth, and the old mother machine for the Mustang tracking up out of turn number 4 into the outside wall, it looked like there for Tommy Cook just behind, and here goes Zittel to the inside.
Zittel has a really fast car tonight. I think him and Garcia are just showing up the field on their speed tonight, with Garcia now having a 2.5 second lead over second place. He's riding off into the sunset and showing him how to get it done there on the track. And Zittel, I think if he can keep his car out of the wall there going through the corners, I think he's going to be sitting very pretty up there in second place. But as long as he can correct some of those mistakes, I think he'll be good. And then you have Schlosser back there also really racing well, but he is pushing really tight coming out of turn number 4, where he can't be affording too many more mistakes if he wants to keep this position.
Schlosser and Zittel continuing to duke it out for third and fourth behind as Zittel works up to the outside, and Higi right now running up in fifth, just a little ways behind, trying to see if he can get himself in some good standing here. This is kicking off now for the championship. Josh Higi right up to the back of Kyle Zittel.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, look who's joining this battle for third position right now. Higi's found some speed, and he's able to catch up to Zittel here, and it looks like he's getting ready to look to the inside. But Zittel shuts the door going down the front stretch. We'll have to see going into turn number 1 if Higi's able to send it to the inside. It looks like he is. So Higi now to the inside, and it looks like Higi's going to be taking that spot away from Zittel coming out of turn number 2 here. So now it's a Higi Schlosser battle once again for the championship going down the back stretch here. And this is what we're talking about. Why we picked Auto Club is because it's always going to be an action-packed fight for the championship here at Auto Club.
You see just how tight the margins are here this time by. It's really flip-flopping back and forth. Right now, Joshua Higgy putting himself further up. He's now up and into that 4th place. Now, that will not get him 5 points. A miscalculation on my end. It will get him 3. So right now, 4 points separate him and Matt Schlosser. It is only 1 point that separates, though, if Matt Schlosser doesn't have 0x, which we are still not confirmed on.
Yeah, Matt Schlosser. I'd be curious because, you know, wall contact are generally 0x unless they hit it pretty hard, and I don't see a ton of aero damage from him. So I'm going to go ahead and make the safe bet that he only got a 0x from that, though he got very lucky because that should have been a little bit more hard than it was, and it looked like he touched the wall a little bit coming out of 4 there again.
Matt Schlosser, though, takes the inside of Andy Poliski, and that's going to help him out big time. Matt Schlosser will put himself up and into the number 2 spot. That is perfect for him because that is now going to mean he is now up by another decent margin ahead of Joshua Higgy. Gains another 5 points, but that is still a gap that could easily be run down with Higgy just a little ways behind.
Yeah, now we got Rutherford in the mix, a lap down. He seems to be struggling with his car quite a bit. Almost took him out on that backstretch as he got a little loose there. So this lap car situation may also cause problems for Higgy and Schlosser if they can't get around him cleanly. Looks like they may get that opportunity here. Yep, there we go, as he is finally able to pass Rutherford there, leaving Poliski to battle it out down the backstretch with him.
And that leaves Schlosser and Higgy separated by either 4 or 1, depending on if Schlosser still has that 0x bonus or not. But tell you what, everything is really kicking off in this championship. I mean, it's not often you have an 11-car race and we do this much talking in a row, right? I mean, usually by now we would have gone to a break or something like that, but these guys, they've been putting on a show. And I think this compelling points battle is really leaving a lot to be excited about. And the fact that these guys are in such close quarters dogfighting constantly.
Yeah, our commercial providers will not be very happy with how little we're going to have for commercials tonight. And honestly, I'll lose my voice over this race as well to make sure that we have the action-packed race that we were hoping for by coming to Auto Club.
Kyle Zittel getting up into the wall, took Corey Rutherford with him, so they nearly had it coming together. We are going to be at 59 laps to go at the line. This race is flying by right now. Schloss and Higgy both up to 2nd and 3rd.
Great job by Higgy in order to recover from that poor green flag stop he had just a few laps ago, putting himself back onto the 3rd step of the podium and giving himself the best opportunity to be able to overtake Schlosser for the championship. Well, I guess he technically holds the championship, so maintain his position over Schlosser for the championship. And just riding right on his tail right now, knowing that if he holds it right here and the checker flag were to drop right now, he would win the championship. So great job by Higgy not to press that envelope any further than he needs to. I think he's got a lot of composure right now, and I think he'll be able to keep a level head, and that'll help him in his chances tonight.
And right now, no matter which way you cut it, Joshua Higgy is in the points lead. He is up by at least 1 if Matt Schlosser has a 0x bonus. He is up by 4 if he does not. And now he's looking to get around Matt Schlosser. So this is the big championship battle right here. Higgy gets his way up in a 2nd, and that is going to firmly secure him at the points lead again. That's got to be a relieving feeling after spending so much time back in 9th, having to fight your way through.
I totally agree. I think if I were sitting back in 9th for him, I'd start sweating a little bit because knowing you have to make up a lot of positions in order to get yourself back up. But I think he's known that he's been pretty fast tonight. So he's probably thinking, okay, I know I have the fast car. I just need to buckle down and get myself back into position. And that's the mentality you have as a champion when you know the cards are stacking against you. instead of just giving up or pushing too hard and creating a wreck, you decide to go, just do what you need to do to get yourself back into position.
And that leaves this other battle pack here. Andy Poliski, Kyle Zittel, Paul Ellison, Luke Peterson, Tommy Cook. They're all in a line, all battling for spots, still on the lead lap. Right now, Corey Rutherford, the lone driver that is one lap down. And we're only about 5-6 laps away from second run of pit stops, too. This is going to be a guaranteed 3-stop race, about one every 25. Makes it really easy for these drivers to get that strategy sorted. Just pivot whenever the tank runs out, and we'll be good to go to the end. No need to think about it.
Yeah, if we can make it to lap 50 here, that would be great to see these guys be able to try and make it on one more stop after that. But Rene Garcia just killing it out there right now. Even though he closed that gap a little bit, it was over 3 seconds at one point. Well, now here we are back again, 3-second lead over second and third place. So great job by Garcia tonight. He's really powered his way through after having really good stop and then having himself quite the drive when he got that clean air out in front of him.
Yeah, Garcia's been doing a phenomenal job. He's still out there by 2.7 seconds, and if he is able to hang on, he could very well come out of this second run of pit stops with that net race lead. He was already pretty far up there, and I think it's a shame that we haven't seen this kind of pace from Garcia all season long. Had a very up and down season with the Technical machine, and I think he really could have proven to be a big contender for the championship had he been able to put together a few more of these types of races throughout the rest of the season. But hey, there's always season 2. Right now, Tommy Cook looking to the outside of Kyle Zittel.
Yeah, Rene Garcia missed a couple races, so he's, just a couple points. His core gets checked into the wall. I think he got a little panic there with Zittel coming up alongside him. Caused him to scrape into the wall, but he's still driving fine. I don't think he's going to have to deal with any damage. But back to Rene, he's missed 2 races this season with only 13 starts. And I think, a lot of races I've seen with Rene Garcia have been races where we've talked about him at some point being on a podium just about every race, but we've also seen those races where he's up there and then he also has an incident that causes him some problems. Ooh, as
Like
he gets a
that?
little loose there. Yeah, exactly. So I think using this race tonight just to prove, like, hey, I do have the pace. I have the potential to be up here racing and leading. That'll give him the confidence he needs going into next season to try and be able to get himself in a better playoff position to where he could possibly be racing for the championship. So as long as he can keep it clean and win this race tonight, I think that'll be a huge step up for him going into the next season.
For those curious, there is, of course, going to be the second season. 16 races. It kicks off on July 21st at the iRacing Super Speedway. Oh boy. I have never actually broadcasted a race there. We've had one race before that we broadcast there on Green Flag TV right in the early days. We had only been streaming on this channel for I think about a month or so at that point when that race was streamed. I wasn't even behind the cameras though for that one. But that's going to be a wild season opener. And then it follows up with Southern National Motorsports Park, a 0.3 of a mile short track. You could not have 2 more polar opposites from one another than that to kick off the season. A 16 race championship will take us all the way through to November 24th once you factor in the few bye weeks in between. There's already proven to be some interesting decisions, including a trip to Interlagos on week 12. Not a lot of those races are confirmed. We'll see how all that's going to pan out. What we can tell you, though, Green Flag TV will be there for every single lap as they have opted to renew for their second season. So it'll be fun to see how this championship is going to swing on out for season 2.
Yeah, ASRL and Green Flag TV make a great pair, so I'm happy to hear that they're back at it once again, as it looks like Peterson decided to go right at lap 50 for a pit. Oh, he decided...
He towed.
Yeah, so he must have run into some damage. I can see the inside of that car has some damage. Probably got loose.
No.
Oh, no.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Okay, well, he just pulled it. Oh, okay, interesting. He pulled it off and tagged the inside wall, so he didn't lose control.
Maybe
I wonder
his
if he probably had an issue going on.
Yeah, I think that was a technical issue there.
We're Rene Garcia, Matt Schlosser, Paul Ellison, Kyle Zittel in a pit road. Now this is going to shake things up because right now, Schlosser and Higi are going to be on different lap tires, but Higi is going to be on at least 1 lap fresher. At a 2-mile track like this where it's 126 degrees, that means a lot.
Yeah, I think if I were in this scenario, I would also be trying to extend the timeout on track as much as possible. Here we go. Higi's coming down as he's struggling to get in there on time. Let's hope he did not get a speeding penalty for that. It looked like he had a little bit of a lockup there. Oh, that would be devastating if he ends up getting a speeding penalty for that. We'll have to see how long it takes him. But down by himself on this one, so we'll have to see if maybe that'll help him out a little bit, getting some of that clean air. But Schlosser's back out on the track. Still a handful of seconds behind Garcia, so Garcia in the net race lead at this point of the race. We'll have to, we'll see if these guys are able to close that gap, though.
Luke Peterson becomes the first car to retire in this race as everyone else making their way down and into the pits. Andrew Bliski is into pit road. So is Joshua Rutherford. That will complete the pit stop cycle this time by Matt Schlosser, making it an easy drive to get it on Joshua Higi by a decent margin, too. Now we'll see what Higi's fresh tires can do as he tries to run down that 400 car.
Yeah, Higi must not have gotten a penalty from that, though it was pretty close, but it gave him a pretty significant gap between him and Schlosser that he'll have to close up once again. Now he's got Ellison and Cook behind him as well, trying to close that gap. So he's going to have to really get his eyes forward and drive a clean race to try and catch up to the leaders.
It is going to be an intense battle to the finish to decide who is going to finish on top of the championship. And we'll get set to see how everything's going to pan out when we return on Green Flag TV. You're going to have 9 cars on the lead lap, 10 still in the running. Right now, Higi with the points lead by 1. We'll be back in a moment.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
We are still under green flag conditions as we have been from the get-go. If you're just joining us, my name is Will Ramble alongside Josh Baird. There is a mother of championship battles shaking up over us for us here at the Auto Club Speedway. This is not it, though, on screen. Right now, you're watching the battle for sixth between Kyle Zittel and Andy Polinsky, two drivers minding their business at the tail end of the field. Right now, the battle for the championship is actually here between Paul Ellison and Joshua Higgy. Why is this a battle? That is a very, very good question. They stand 3 seconds apart as at the moment. The problem is Higgy is only up by 1 point currently in the championship standings compared to Matt Schlosser. So if Higgy drops out of third, that will mean he loses that title.
Yeah, Joshua Higgy doing what he needs to do in order to secure himself in the championship. So we'll have to see if he can sit there and coast and try and, coast his way into that spot for the championship, or if he's really going to try and push to make sure he gets that extra solidification in order to, build enough of a points gap to make it impossible for Schlosser to overcome it. And we'll have to see, because we're running out of time here. We're on the back half of this race, only 37 to go. So he's going to have to start picking up the pace if he really wants to get any more spots.
With all of this still underway as well, we are going to be able to get in touch with one driver in particular who is not able to compete this afternoon. We'll see if we can dial up the driver that was runner-up in the points entering this afternoon. Hunter Engrave is going to join us up here this afternoon. And Hunter, I know it is it's got to be a tough pill to swallow, knowing you were so close after such a dominant run throughout the season, and then you lose it out of something that is completely out of your control. I mean, kind of walk us through what the thoughts are as we watch this race pan out at Auto Club.
Yeah, it's disappointing for sure. I don't know a lot to say. It's disappointing for sure to be so dominant, so close all year, just for one bad luck race to happen and everything. But you can't dwell on it. You'll drive yourself bonkers if you do. To me, I think it was wrong what all happened and everything, but that's just my opinion, and I don't make the last call. But it was definitely fun all year, but though it sucked how last week ended for sure.
Well, at the end of the day, you definitely showed that you can absolutely go out there and lay down the law on the track when it comes down to putting down the pace. I mean, you are having one of the most dominant seasons we've ever seen on Green Flag TV. 5 wins, 11 top 5s, 13 top 10s in 15 starts. I mean, that is no small feat in the slightest. How is this going to change the mindset, or will it change the mindset going into season 2 come July?
Yeah, no, hopefully we can just keep the good pace. There was definitely some people that were really competitive to learn. Learned a lot with the NextGen car. I didn't do a lot of driving with the NextGen car till this league. I'll probably be just part-time next year with the fall and all that coming up with my schedule and everything. So I'll probably be part-time next season. But definitely the goal is to just be consistent and dominant as much as you can, I guess. But yeah, no, it just still bums me out that I couldn't get it this year. But yeah, no, it's the goal next year is just try to be as consistent as possible like this year. Just do what you know you can do, and don't try to push yourself where you can't get that position. If you can only know you have top 5 pace, just take the top 5 and move on to the next race. Don't try to push it.
Well, whatever the case, we know that you're the pace. You know you have the pace. No doubt it is not the last time we'll be seeing you in victory lane. Thank you for taking the time to join us up here, Hunter. Tough break this season. Best of luck then for season 2.
Thank you very much, Tim, and thank you guys for always doing a phenomenal job of broadcasting this whole season.
And thank you as well for the kind words. Hunter Engrave was entering this race only 3 points outside of the points lead, but then, of course, as we all know, issues befell him out of his control, and, well, what are you going to do? That's the world of racing sometimes. Paul Ellison under fire by Tommy Cook, and all of this allowing for Higgy to pull out a 7-second gap back to Ellison. Right now, I think Higgy is very secure where he is in a championship stage.
Yeah, he just needs to keep this pace right here and be able to lock himself one position behind Slosher, and he's got himself the championship. So I think he's doing great. As it looks like we got Rutherford into the wall coming out of the
Oh,
corner. He's dove down into the inside wall there as well. Created a lot of
oh,
contact for him. I think his race is going to be done.
that's a couple of very hard hits into the fence. And oh gosh, that 4 total hard impacts into the wall. Let's take a look back and we'll ride on board with Corey Rutherford. We'll back this up a little bit more and hang on for this ride. Coming around through turns 1 and 2. This is a big one, folks. Loose overcorrected, came down, and that's 3 very, very hard hits, and that is going to see Corey Rutherford down and out. No caution because of how far down he was on the racetrack.
It looked like a very rough time for him. He seemed to be struggling just a bit throughout this race as well. So, unfortunate early end for him tonight, and that will be day done. But as far as Higgy and Slosher go, we still have that gap between them. But at this point, it is Higgy's championship to win as long as he can maintain this position. And he's got 14 seconds on the next guy behind from him. So I think that he's sitting pretty right now if he could just stay consistent and tick off these last laps. He's got about 5 more laps before he'll have to pit one more time. So as long as he keeps that clean, I think he'll be doing well for himself in the end.
Well, he's proven he's got some pace, so we're going to see if Corey Rutherford can maybe bounce back for season number 2 as well. It's a tough way to end a race, but there's always the next season. And, of course, that, again, coming on up in July. If you want to race in action a little bit sooner than that, though, be sure to check out the High Tide Racing League MF Racing Designs Cup Series for race number 13. They race at the Chicagoland Speedway, 9 o'clock p.m. this coming Monday night. On Wednesday, the Beer League runs out to the Long Beach Street Circuit. They'll be racing at 9:20 p.m. Eastern Time for their traditional Long Beach race. And then on Thursday, the Speed Tires Plus Cup Series will also get set to close out a championship. They'll be running at the Iowa Speedway at 9:15 p.m. Looking to duke it out. Tommy Cook with a bit of an aggressive drive down to the pit road.
Tommy Cook entering pit road just a little bit early. I think he needed to wait a couple more laps because now he might need to do a splash and go to get himself into the end of the race. So early entry for him. I think the pit window wasn't quite open yet. He got down to speed there and was able to make it in. But I think another thing I'd like to notice too is Slosher's cutting into that lead a little bit on Garcia. So down to just 2 seconds left. We'll have to see if Slosher actually has something in the tank to be able to track down Garcia and get that race win. And as soon as I say that, he opened the gap a little bit, but let's hope I didn't jinx him. Nope, he's getting back into even. So I think he might actually have something in him to cut down the lead on Garcia.
Matt Schlosser currently cut in almost 0.2 of a second back to Rene Garcia on that last lap. But here comes Garcia to pit road. Schlosser in behind. Now, this is right on the cusp of being able to make it, assuming there's no overtime for either one of these drivers. But Schlosser was reeling this gap in. Now, again, that is critical because if Garcia falls out of the lead and Schlosser takes up the lead, that will give Matt Schlosser that points lead back from Joshua Higgy. But will it be enough? Because Joshua Higgy this time by, I think, may have been able to take up a lap lead this time. You know what? Let's take a look back and let's see when did Joshua Higgy take up the lead, because that could be critical. That could give him a bonus point for leading the lap this afternoon, which changes the complexion of this points race.
I think he was able to get the lap led on this one before Garcia crossed the finish line. So one more point for Higgy.
That's another point. That puts now Higgy up by 2. He is now at 2,239. Matt Schlosser at an even 2,237. Now, if Schlosser can take the lead, that still is enough to get to that points lead. But it is one step closer to getting to getting Higgy that points gap that he so desperately needs.
I'd also like to notice too, I wonder if Higgy was doing a little bit of fuel saving, because here we are 25 to go. Is he going to stay out on the track, or is he going to dive into pit? Yep, he's going to dive into pit lane, but now he's got 2-lap newer tires than his two opponents in front of him. So that may give him an advantage to be able to close up that gap a little bit coming out here, but it looks like the 73 of Campbell kind of took the front end off of, or not like physically took the front end off of Higgy, but caused him to slow up maybe a little bit more, and that may cause him a little bit longer of a pit cycle here. We'll have to see if that pays off for him or if that hurts him in the end of this race.
Joshua Higgy slides in very clean. Oh, no, it's not! He has to back up! Oh, no! Disaster for Higgy on pit road. We'll have to see how that's going to pan out. Paul Ellison is into the pits. I thought he made it in clean. Looking like I may very well have been wrong. Here comes Rene Garcia just behind Matt Schlosser. This is the battle for the net race lead, and Higgy going to be dropped down to 4th. He's able to get out ahead of Casey Campbell, who's a lap down. Now the question is, can he get out of pit road before Tommy Cook can get around him? I think he will. That will not change the points outlook for this race unless he gets it a bit out towards that racetrack. That was really flirting with the line on an unsafe pit release.
Unfortunate situation for Higgy. I think if he has anything left in the tank to be able to track these guys down, he kind of shot himself in the foot there. I think that Higgy is just really going to have to do his best to hang on to that gap between him and Cook, because I don't see him being able to catch Schlosser at this point.
Now again, he does not need to overtake Schlosser to win. Right now, he still has the points lead. What he needs is for Schlosser to not catch up to Garcia, but that's not happening. Garcia is up there by about 1.5 seconds. That's half a second less than it was when they came down to pit road.
Yeah, it looks like Schlosser is really being able to pick up the pace on Garcia. Now I think the other thing Higgy wants to pray for is an overtime finish, because now he has 2 laps of more of fuel than these two guys, and they may have to come down pit road for a splash and go if there's any overtime involved. So I think that's going to be the next big play from Higgy if he does not want Schlosser to take over this lead from Garcia, which looks like may be coming up with the time getting cut down to 1.4 seconds.
I feel like overtime would be about as rare as a unicorn in a race like this.
Well, we've seen a couple guys tonight struggle with Rutherford and Peterson both retiring their cars early. I do agree, though, that as clean as they've been able to keep it tonight, that we should be able to see it go green into the finish. But look at that, as the 200 of Tommy Cook was just not handling well going through that corner. He's kind of lucky he didn't get oversteer coming out of that corner and go into the inside wall.
That was the lap prior to where he actually lost that, and then the next lap later he actually did get into the wall, so that is how he lost that spot back to Andy Poliski. So you saw him get loose, and well, he didn't learn his lesson until he did, and now he is going to be suffering all the way down in 6th as a result of his mistakes. But we'll see if this race is going to pan out. 20 laps to go. Let's take a few laps here. We'll let you ride on board with Matt Schlosser, and he'll take you for a few around the Auto Club Speedway. Matt Schlosser continued the run in the number 2 spot. The gap was up to about 2.9 seconds, but now started to close back in. Rene Garcia may have burned all of his tires up trying to keep it in front, and look at the difference. A second gain on lap 87. Or sorry, a second gain on lap 86. 3/4 of a second gain on lap 87. This race is far from over.
And look who else is closing the gap. Joshua Higgy, as you were talking, I think I just watched him close an entire second. So he's actually really putting the foot to the floor here, trying to make up that time to try and close that gap between them as he sees that gap begin to close between him and Garcia. So both of these guys really starting to pick up the pace because they know it's at stake here in these last 12 laps here at Auto Club.
Higi's championship is in danger right now. If Schlosser gets around Garcia, that gives Matt Schlosser the championship. That is 100% guaranteed. Schlosser has to pass Garcia if he wants to take the championship this afternoon. Joshua Higi has got to make sure he does not allow Schlosser to get around Garcia. And if Schlosser does get around Garcia, Higi has got to do the same. They cannot afford to dilly-dally anymore. It is on in Fontana.
I think another thing is too, these guys are starting to pick up speed because the track temperature is dropping drastically as we get into later parts of this race, down to 113 degrees Fahrenheit from 126 earlier on. So these guys are starting to find that speed that gives them that opportunity to have a really nice close race here at the finish.
Right now, 3.3 seconds is the gap between Joshua Higi and Matt Schlosser. Taking a look at the deltas between the pair. Schlosser continuing to close by about 3 to 4 tenths of a second every lap. He has right now caught that big bubble of dirty air that is always a difficult challenge to punch through. If he can punch through that, he can draft right up to Garcia and it is over. Now that said, he didn't gain anything the last time by. Joshua Higi, meanwhile, gained 1.5 seconds on Schlosser. This is a monumental title fight that is taking place between two heavyweights.
What a wild finish we're being set up for. We thought the gap had been built enough that we were beginning to see the final portion of this race take shape. But here we go. We got Schlosser down to 0.5 seconds. Going through the corner here, will he be able to close that gap as he comes up on Garcia coming out of turn number 4? We have Higi also coming down out of turn number 4 with a 2.5 second gap. Maybe those 2 laps extra tires with the cooling track has just given him a rocket ship to be able to close this gap between the guys, because he is now down to nearly 2 seconds on these two.
The thing is, Higi's got to close up those 2 seconds in just 8.5 laps, whereas Schlosser only has 0.5 second to get around Garcia with. This is a monumental battle, and there's no way Garcia is not aware of what is at stake behind him. Garcia knows whatever he does is going to directly impact this championship. Does he fight it out with Schlosser? Will he fight it out with Higi? None of these drivers are on the same team. This is going to be incredible.
I think so, and I think Garcia is very hungry for another win or another podium finish, so he's not going to give up this position easily. I know that maybe a championship is out of the question for him, but this guy still really wants to win this race. So I think he's going to give Schlosser everything he can, and that's going to give Higi that opportunity to close that 0.5 second gap now as we go down the backstretch. Higi just killing that pace as it looks like Schlosser goes to the inside of Garcia, and he's about ready to take the race lead.
Side by side for the lead. They nearly come together. They do come together. Big contact for the race lead in this race. Oh, look out. Garcia slides it out. He punches to the bottom. Schlosser takes the points lead, but only for a moment. Higi steals it right back as Garcia falls back to third.
Wow, what a collision that happened between Garcia and Schlosser. As it looks like Higi is now looking to the inside of Schlosser as well. He's got a lot of speed going on that underside of Schlosser there. Not able to get that pass completed, so he'll have to file back in line. But these guys are really duking it out with the final 10 laps of this race, and we are in for a wild finish with these guys.
That right there is a championship-defining moment. Rene Garcia, you mentioned it, wanted to go for some last bit of glory. Garcia's trying to go over best of the rest. He could get that 11th place in the points at the end of the night. He is within striking distance. Let's take a look back on what happened coming out of turn number 4. They touch once. That rubs Garcia of the racetrack. He lost it and nearly took out the race leader.
Yeah, that was amazing to see Garcia actually be able to recover from that. His car was very sideways going through that turn. Look at that wheel spin or wheel correction that he had to make in order to get through that turn.
Woo.
Oh, right there. Just big check by Slosher and able to recover from that. Now he's sitting pretty in third. I think he's still got enough speed that he could be up alongside these two going towards the end of this race.
If Garcia cannot get back around Joshua Higgy, then that gives him the championship, and especially if Joshua Higgy is able to take that lead away from Matt Schlosser. Right now, it doesn't matter if Higgy finishes second or first. Either way, the championship is his. At this point, they're going for the last bit of glory on the season.
Yeah, what better way to win the championship to also win the race? But Higgy looking good to the inside here. Slosher is probably going to give him run for his money. Pitches him down low. Higgy gets tight. Has to let off the gas there a little bit. Coming out of the corner, they're still side by side as Slosher nearly hits the wall coming out of the corner. Now he's got a commanding lead again, and now we got a lap car getting involved.
How will Joshua Rutherford decide this battle? They're trying to lap him for 7th. Schlosser's going to look down low. Rutherford keeps that thing way up by the wall. He wants nothing to do with this battle. Garcia bobbles. Higgy bobbles. Schlosser takes the lead back.
Slosher gets the lead once again, but not for long as Higgy looks again to the inside. It gets a nose right in front of him down low there. A little bit more than a car width up from the apron, but coming out of the corner, he's going to have to dive it back in behind Slosher. So that attempt failed to get around him. Once again, has to sit in second as we have 3 to go at the line.
Who would have thought that in an 11-car race, the championship battle would be this close, and the battle for the race win would be this close? Garcia is still tagging on to these 2 drivers. He is still not out of it if one of them makes a mistake.
It's been amazing to watch, and both of these guys, you can just see their hunger for this championship with how well they have been driving today. Both of them had adversity, and both of them have come out to be first and second place for this race, and they're doing a great job at showing that both of them really want to win it, and I honestly think that they both deserve it tonight.
Drag race out to the line. 2 laps to go. Joshua Higgy takes that last time by, rumbling down to the inside. So little time is left. Only 2 laps on the whole season, and neither one of these drivers can decide who's going to take the checkered flag.
They're giving them a run for their money, racing really nice and tight. Coming down the back stretch, we'll have to see. Higgy's lost a little bit of speed, but I think taking the inside here may give him that position. If Slosher can get down, maybe try and chop that nose off a little bit. He's got a nice little gap right here where he could start driving defensive and being able to keep Higgy behind him. Even though that will not win him the championship, we are white flag here. 1 more lap around Auto Club.
Caution-free final sprint of this race. Joshua Higgy driving it in deep. Schlosser's out! Schlosser, I think, runs out of fuel on the final lap! The 400 car sputters and dies, and that's it! It's over! Joshua Higgy with no competition! Schlosser tried, he couldn't make it! Oh, it's heartbreak for the 400 car. He'll miss out on a podium! And as he runs out of fuel on the final lap, Joshua Higgy comes off of 4. He is your champion in the ASRL Next Gen Cup Series.
Heartbreak for Slosher on the white flag. Just did not have enough fuel to get to the end of the run there. I was wondering with how early those guys stopped if that was going to be a struggle. We talked even if there was an overtime, that would not have been enough fuel to make it to the end. But it looks like Higgy made the right choice there at the end to stop with just a few laps to go, as it looks like Rutherford is helping him try and cross the finish line without any power.
That is a heartbreaking sight. So close. Fought so hard. And for it to end like that, he'll finish this race in 6th.
I think for Slosher, it's a chance to hold your head high, though. He was so close to having the opportunity. Just one lap essentially was the difference between him being a champion or not. And that's a lot more than the rest of the guys in this field. So I think that's something for Schlosser to hold his head up high about, is that he nearly made it and will have that opportunity next season to try and redeem himself. But congratulations to Joshua Higgy, showing up when he needed to show up and coming away with the championship and the victory tonight.
I'm at a loss for words. It's a huge congratulations for Joshua Higgy, but it is a heartbreaker for Matt Schlosser. Fought so hard, but Josh Mahigi, this is a win that he can be proud of. He had to work for it tonight. Enter this race with an 8-point deficit, or an 8-point gap, sorry. He took the most out of that one and is able to come home and be a proud Season 1 champion in the ASRL NextGen Cup Series. Let's take a rundown of what your official post-race results look like here after an extremely wild night of racing for just an 11-car field. That was fantastic. We take a look, and it'll be Josh Mahigi, your new champion at the end of the night. Rene Garcia finishes this race in second. Andy Poliski was in third with Paul Ellison in fourth, Kyle Zittel fifth. Matt Schlosser, second place in the points, comes home in sixth. Josh Rutherford seventh. Casey Campbell eighth. Tommy Cook ninth. Corey Rutherford, Luke Peterson not finishing this race along with Cook. And that is it. Your championship is over.
What a wild ride this championship has been so far, with Hunter Engrave having such a dominant performance, but then with all the controversy involving the postseason to where he was not able to fight for this race tonight, leaving Joshua Higgy in a very good position to solidify his chance at the title. And if there was anybody that earned it, I would say that Joshua Higgy did what he had to do to definitely earn his spot at the top of the championship standings.
We'll take a rundown and give a chit-chat with all of the drivers that finished this race. Well, at least the top two that finished on the podium. Then, of course, we'll talk, of course, the match launch as well, the runner-up in the points. But we'll let you kick things off first and foremost with the driver that comes home as a new champion. Trying to track down at least where Joshua Higgy is this afternoon, and there he is in that FTM channel. We're going to bring up the driver that finishes in the lead this afternoon, and in an extremely dramatic finish, Joshua Higgy takes away a championship this afternoon. Josh, walk us through it, because, boy, that was a wild way to end a championship run.
Yeah, too bad. I think he ran out of fuel. Too bad we couldn't take it to the end there. We were side by side for a long time. All three of my pit stops, I overshot the pit box. I don't know if there's a glitch where they don't drop the lollipop. I couldn't see where my pit stall was, even though I'd practiced it 100 times. But you know how it is during the race. You get a little nervous. All three times I overshot it, I had to back up. Lucky I even got there. I knew fuel was going to be short, because I think the black box said 25 laps estimated, and it was like a 100-lap race. So I had to use every tank that I had.
At what
That's about
point?
it.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Nope. Go ahead.
At what point in this race did you start to realize that this championship was going to be yours to lose? And at what point did you realize it was effectively all but guaranteed?
Yeah, just toward, I forget, probably, well, that last pit stop, I knew I was like a lap good on fuel, and I think Matt pit like a lap earlier than I did, at least on the last one, so he was probably going to be pushing it kind of tight, and he was maybe running a little bit longer line throughout the race. And I knew I think the way points were, I think if I finished second and didn't have any incidents or anything, I think I still might have been able to win, even if he beat me by one position. But it was still good to get a victory on the last one. This race is a little bit opposite of our last two drama-filled playoff races.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're able to come home regardless, and you're going to be walking out of here as a defending champion. What's going to be the game plan to try to see if you can get back to it and fight for that crown in Season 2?
Yeah, we'll see if I come back. I don't see any reason why not.
Sounds like a plan. We'll see you then next season. Congratulations on taking a very hard-fought championship this afternoon. and hopefully we'll see you again in July.
Thanks, guys.
Joshua Hickey able to come home and take up the championship here this afternoon, as well as the final race win of the season. We'll move on down to give a talk to the second place runner-up this afternoon. And we'll save Matt Schlosser for our third interview of the night. We'll bring up the race runner-up this afternoon as Rene Garcia takes away that second position here this afternoon. And Josh, you're standing by with number 2.
Renee, congratulations on the second place finish there. I know that towards the end of the race, essentially you've had a dominating race. There was points where you had a large gap built up between you and the guy behind you. But when Slosher finally was able to close that gap towards the last laps, kind of walk us through that little incident that you had with him, and then what caused you to get back into second place as you watched him go off into the infield after he lost his fuel.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention to the fuel, and I realized it a little too late. That's when I started checking up, trying to save some fuel. But I did it too late. I wish I would have known at least maybe 7 laps sooner or something like that. But I wasn't paying attention. I was just happy leading the race. But you know what? I got to lead the race, led a few laps there, so I'm happy with that. Take P2. My teammate ended up winning the championship, so I can't complain. Good race overall.
It was a great race for you, for sure. I know that you weren't technically fighting for the championship going into this race, but it had to feel great leading most of this race. How do you feel that this race finishing second place, nearly winning the race, is going to build confidence going into the next season?
Yeah, it's definitely that momentum booster. It's a bummer. I really thought I had it, but that shows you never know. Anything can happen so fast. But it's good. I feel confident. I mean, we were missing some other aliens in this race, but Josh and Matt compete with them constantly, so I was able to be up there and lead the race for a few laps. So that felt really good. So I will definitely take this momentum to the next season, and hopefully I get a victory. Hopefully, I'm praying for one.
Yeah, I think you've been due for one for a while with how well we've seen you race so far this season. So congratulations on your second place finish, and I really hope that we can see you standing at the top of the podium next season. Next up, I think we're actually going to talk with our second place in the points finisher for tonight, instead of going with our traditional third place person right off the bat here. So we're going to have Slosher standing by with Nolan.
We absolutely will, or at least that was the game plan until Matt Schlosser found himself disconnected. He was not, I think, feeling ready to give us a talk here this afternoon. So instead, we will get a chance to talk to the third place runner here in the points this afternoon. Andy Poliski will come home. He locks out the final podium spot on the final race on the season. And while Andy, it was looking like it was going to be fourth, at what point did you realize it was going to be third?
I think it was coming out of 2 on the backstretch. I saw Matt really slow, so got lucky there. He ran out of fuel. I saved early in the run to make sure I could run hard all the way to the end, and just killed the tires there at the end. Couldn't make any more time up.
For you, I think you're able to come home tonight, and with this third place finish, you take best of the rest. You're able to lock out the regular point series championship for 11th on back. So it's a big accomplishment for that number 32 Ford Mustang as well. What's going to be the plan then coming on up for season 2 in July?
Absolutely, it was good to finish out strong with a win and a podium. So hopefully we can keep this momentum up into next season and go for championship.
Well, we'll see how things are going to pan on out for you when we return on July 21st. Congratulations on the third place finish and for locking out the best of the rest. We'll see you in a few months.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Poliski comes home. He takes up third place in the season finale this afternoon. And with Matt Schlosser not able to give us the word here this afternoon, that is, I think, going to do it. That was wild. I think one of the wildest races we have seen in a long time. And Josh, you know that it's going to be a wild time when we return at iRacing Super Speedway on July 21st. But this championship, not often do we get them to be this dramatic, and I think that is one for the record books.
Yeah, it was lap by lap. We could not tell you who was going to be the champion at the end of the day, and it's just because Auto Club leads to some great racing in this next gen Cup car, and that's kind of what we were expecting from this car out of here at Auto Club, which is why we chose it, and it definitely paid off having that track to be able to have those two lap for lap fighting it out for the championship. And if this is any indication of the future of ASRL, I think we're going to have a really bright future ahead of us. So it was a ton of fun to be able to watch that race tonight.
It was a very wild race to end out the championship this afternoon, and it is going to be even more crazy when we return on July 21st. Green Flag TV will be bringing you all of the action from season number 2, from the first Green Flag lap at the IRC Super Speedway to the final lap and the checkered flag at wherever it may happen to be, all the way up in November. We want to thank everybody for taking the time to join us for not just this Sunday night of action, but for the action throughout the entire season. We want to thank the ASRL Next Gen Cup Series and the American Sim Racing League for bringing us on board for what has been an absolutely thrilling championship. If you want to find out more about who we are and what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com. Joshua Higgy, in an almighty Titanic battle, walks away out of here with a championship to be proud of, and we'll see if he can fend it off when we go racing a few months from now at the IRC Super Speedway. My name has been Nola Rambo alongside Josh Barrett. Thank you for joining us for the entirety of the season. We'll see you when we return in July.